A little update for you in the Varsity Blues scandal. Let's go ahead and put this up on the screen. The mastermind of the Varsity Blues college cheating scandal has now been sentenced to 42 months in prison. He says he is ashamed of himself. Let me read you a little bit of this. William Rick Singer, the ringleader in that college admissions cheating scandal that spanned the country, was sentenced to 42 months in prison by a federal judge. He will then be on supervised release for 3 more years, turn himself over to authorities on February 27th. He had pleaded guilty in March 2019 to helping parents of dozens of well-to-do high school students cheat their way into elite universities. His sentence comes nearly 4 years after his plea. He helped prosecutors convict his former clients, so he cooperated, including high-powered executives, fashion moguls, Hollywood actors Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. He pleaded guilty ultimately to charges of racketeering, conspiracy, money laundering, conspiracy to defraud the U.S., and obstruction of justice. Prosecutors had asked for 6 years. That was much more than the 6-month maximum that Singer's lawyers wanted, so they came up with kind of a compromise sentence here, Saagar.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the interesting Netflix documentary on Singer. Look, he's a fascinating character in his own right. I'm definitely glad he's going to prison. I'm glad that some of these actresses actually saw some jail time or at very least got humiliated in front of the eyes of the world. But what about the colleges? This is what bothers me the most about this whole story. We were all focusing on the rich people buying access. I mean, look, these people just took it to its most logical conclusion, which is all of them cheat their way into these institutions. What do you think a legacy even is? It's all fake in terms of affirmative action. What about the colleges themselves that have these basically money laundering portals through which rich Chinese billionaires can donate a building and then miraculously their children just happen to get in? You know, we have legalized admissions fraud and then we have illegalized. Like, sure, I'm glad that this is happening, but I've always thought that the biggest meta story here is that these were just people who were doing what everybody else does. They just didn't happen to have the billions of dollars that you need to do it legally. How about we just make it so nobody can buy their way into these things in the first place? And I think they got off way too easy in this discussion because you know that they were complicit as hell in architecting all of these policies to make it so that Rick Singer and all these actresses could even get their kids into these colleges.
Yeah, this was like a legacy admissions process for people who were like mere millionaires. You know, there were like tens of millionaires, not billionaires. So they couldn't afford to like buy the library wing or whatever to secure their kids access to the school. So they had to do the like low budget, only like a few $100,000 way to buy their kids access to the school. Just to remind people about the scheme, the way they describe it here is that parents paid Singer more than $6 million. Ivy League coaches opened sham spots on their rosters for Singer's clients in exchange for bribes, and test administrators were paid to fudge applicants' entrance exam scores. And I remember from the time it was covered, I gotta watch the documentary because I haven't watched that, but that they would create these like fake photos of them like playing certain sports to try to pretend like they were, you know, top of the pack in some sort of like obscure sport to help get them access to the school as well. And this scandal was so fascinating because it says a lot about society, like the level of desperation that you would feel even as someone who's so wealthy and coming from so much privilege and have every advantage in life, but you're so desperate to secure your spot in the elite stratosphere that you're willing to go to these sorts of lengths in order to do it is very telling about, you know, the character of those people. It's also very telling about the consequences of falling out of that elite tier of society. And then the whole conversation, as you're pointing out, Saagar, it sort of presupposes that the normal admissions process to these universities is somehow fair and really based on just like a neutral reading of merit, which is just wildly inaccurate and not the case.
Yep. No, I always hammer that home whenever I would talk about the story. I'm like, what? They're criminals for doing what a lot of people do. They just didn't have as much money. You know, they're mere multi-millionaires. That this is all just reveals like their admissions process through which they allow people in through legacies, through donations. And now by trying to basically remove merit from the system entirely with the war on the SAT and the LSAT, it's all just based upon essentially the vibes of these administrators. And that's just not the way that the especially higher institution. I know, look, vast majority of Americans don't even go to college, so it doesn't matter. But, you know, for elite institutions, one things we have all learned over the last 10 years, they rule our lives in a lot of ways that we really can't control. So what happens at these universities has a disproportionate impact really on all of us. Part of the reason why I think that we need to have some sort of intervention on them from the public, just recognizing the impact that they have on American life writ large, as much as I would really love for it all to go down. The point being that we should not presume that it was ever fair in the first place.
Yeah.
This guy did what a lot of these people do. He got caught doing it. You know, I guess I applaud the FBI, but there's a much bigger $1 trillion scam at play than Mr. Rick Singer and 50 rich actresses.
Yeah, they just took the like less high class version of the scam,
Yep.
I guess. And that's why there was all this upset about it. But the low level scamming that happens with these universities, that goes unnoticed every day. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.